Billionaire's daughter gives a plate of food to a homeless woman in the cold. What her father does next surprises everyone. The waiter placed the steaming plate on the table. Emily clapped her hands, her blue eyes shining with joy. "Daddy, it's here." "The pasta is here." Richard Coleman looked up from his cell phone for a second, saw his daughter smiling and went back to the screen. Another meeting cancelled. The Japanese investor wanted to reschedule. Again. That's nice, sweetie," he murmured, typing a quick reply. Emily picked up the small fork and twirled the strands of pasta. The Bella Vista restaurant was crowded on that Friday night. Conversations mingled with the clinking of glasses and silverware. Golden lights made everything cozy, and the smell of Italian food hung in the air. She took her first bite. It was delicious. Melted cheese, creamy sauce, exactly how she liked it. But something caught her attention. Outside, beyond the large glass window, a young woman was standing on the sidewalk. Long blonde hair swayed in the night wind, her light-colored eyes fixed on the restaurant tables. She was shivering. Emily stopped eating and watched with curiosity. The woman wasn't just casually looking. She was watching the plates, the food, the people eating, and she seemed sad. Very sad. "Daddy," Emily called. Richard kept typing, frowning at the screen. "Daddy," she repeated, louder. "1 minute, Emily. Daddy is handling something important for work." The little girl sighed and looked back out the window. The woman was still there, hugging herself to keep warm. Her clothes looked worn by time. She wasn't wearing a coat, despite the cold October night. Richard's phone rang. "Hello, yes, Johnson, I'm here." "What do you mean they want to change Clause 15 now?" Emily rolled her eyes. When Daddy answered the phone during dinner, it took forever. She continued to watch the people around her, but her eyes always returned to the woman outside. Why was that lady there? Why didn't she come into the restaurant to warm up? She seemed to be watching every plate that passed by the tables. Emily took a few more bites, but she couldn't stop looking. The woman moved a little, trying to shield herself from the wind that blew her blonde hair, but she remained glued to the glass. Her blue eyes seemed mesmerized by the movement inside the restaurant. Suddenly, Emily understood everything. The woman was hungry, really hungry, and cold. And she probably had no money to buy food. That's why she stood outside, just watching, wishing she could come in. The little girl's heart ached. She looked at her plate, still quite full, then at the thin woman outside, then at her father who hadn't even noticed the situation. "Don't, Johnson, that will delay everything." "I can't accept these changes," Richard said, irritated. Emily made a decision. Carefully, she held the plate with her 2 small hands. It was heavy and hot. Steam rose from the creamy sauce. She almost spilled it when she got up from her chair, but she managed to keep her balance. "Daddy, I'll be right back," she said softly. Richard waved distractedly, still glued to his phone call. Emily walked slowly between the tables. The plate was heavy for her 5-year-old hands, but she focused on each step. Some adults looked curiously at the little girl carrying food by herself. A couple at the next table smiled, finding the scene cute. The restaurant manager noticed her as she approached the door. "Hey, is everything all right, dear? Do you need some help?" "No, thank you. I'm just going outside for a second." "But it's cold out there, little one. Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure." The manager hesitated, but he saw Richard still on the phone and decided to let the girl go. Emily pushed the glass door with her shoulder. The cold night wind hit her face as soon as she stepped onto the sidewalk. It was much colder than she had imagined. The blonde woman turned, surprised to see a child coming out of the restaurant alone, carrying a steaming plate. "Here, eat this. It's warm," Emily said, smiling and holding out the plate. The woman looked at the little girl, then at the plate of pasta, then back at Emily. Her light-colored eyes widened in surprise. What are you doing, sweetie?" "I saw you looking at the food from inside. You're hungry, right?" The woman swallowed hard. Tears began to form in her blue eyes. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. Emily held out the plate again. I've already eaten a lot, and it's really yummy. But it's your food, and I want to share it with you. What's your name? Martha, the woman replied, her voice choked with emotion. Hi, Martha, I'm Emily. Take the plate. Go on. Your hands are shaking. Martha hesitated for a few seconds. Looking around, her hands were trembling visibly, whether from cold or emotion, she didn't know. Finally, she reached out and took the warm plate. Thank you so much, she said, tears streaming down her face. Thank you so much, little angel. You're welcome. Emily clapped her hands, happy. Eat it quickly before it gets cold. Inside, Richard finally hung up the phone and looked up. Emily's chair was empty. He looked around the dining room, searching for his daughter. Emily, he called, loud enough for a few people to look over. No sign of her. Richard's heart began to race. Where on earth had she gone? He stood up quickly, nearly knocking over his wine glass. Emily, he shouted louder. Now several customers were staring at him. Richard began to walk hastily through the restaurant, checking the restroom, the hallways. Excuse me, he said to the manager. Have you seen a little blonde girl about 5 years old? Yes, I did, sir. She went out the front door a few minutes ago carrying a plate. She went out? Richard's blood ran cold. By herself? Richard ran towards the door, his heart pounding erratically. He pushed the glass door open forcefully and stepped out onto the cold sidewalk. The scene he found left him speechless. Emily was talking to a young woman who was holding her plate of pasta. The woman was crying but smiling at the same time, bringing small forkfuls to her mouth. Thank you, little angel, Martha was saying, her voice thick with emotion. You have a beautiful heart. Richard stood still for a few seconds, processing the scene. His little daughter had given her own food to a stranger who clearly needed the meal much more. Emily, he finally said, approaching them. You had me worried. What are you doing out here? Daddy! Emily turned to him, beaming. This is Martha. She was hungry, so I brought her my pasta. Martha immediately tried to give the plate back. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't ask her for anything. She came up to me. No, Martha. Emily held the woman's arm. Ja, the food is yours now, Richard observed Martha. She looked to be in her early 30s, blonde hair that must have once been well cared for, kind but tired blue eyes. Her clothes were clean, but worn from use, and she was shivering from the cold. Something stirred in Richard's chest. You're not giving the plate back, he said, surprising himself. Ah, but how about eating somewhere warmer? It's very cold out here. Martha hesitated. I don't have any money to pay. Nobody is asking for money, Emily said. Come eat with us, Martha. Richard felt something move inside his chest. His daughter's simplicity, the gratitude in Martha's eyes. Emily is right, he said. Please, join us. They went back inside the restaurant. The manager quickly arranged for an extra chair. Martha sat down slowly, still holding the plate as if it might disappear. I'm Richard Coleman. This is my daughter, Emily. Martha Stevens, it's a pleasure to meet you and thank you so much. Do you like pasta, Martha? Emily asked. I love it. Martha tried another forkful and closed her eyes. Wow, this is delicious. It's been a long time since I've eaten something like this. It's the best pasta in the city. Daddy always brings me here on Fridays. Richard watched Martha eat. She ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were precious. When was the last time she had a full meal? Are you from around here? He asked. Born here, yes, I lived here my whole life. Lived? Emily frowned. Did you move? Martha smiled sadly. It's a little complicated, sweetie. Richard motioned for Emily not to press, but she continued. Where do you live now? Martha hesitated. Right now. I don't have a permanent home. What do you mean? Sometimes I can stay in shelters, other times on the street. Emily's fork stopped in mid-air. On the street. Her eyes widened. But that's dangerous. And cold. It is, sweetie, but sometimes it's what you have. Richard felt a lump in his throat. He signaled for the waiter. Could you bring a menu? He said. Then he turned to Martha. Order whatever you like. I can't accept anything else. Yes, you can, said Emily. Daddy has lots of money. Emily, Richard laughed awkwardly. It's true, you always say we have a comfortable life. Martha laughed too, and Richard noticed how her face transformed when she smiled. Your daughter is very special, she said. That she is. Martha ordered a vegetable soup. She ate slowly, talking with Emily about silly things. What was her favorite color, if she liked cartoons? And you, Martha, Richard asked, what did you do before your current situation? Her face lit up. I owned a restaurant. It was small, but it was mine. I made comfort food, lasagna, cakes, pies. You know how to cook, Emily perked up. I do. I learned from my grandmother. She always said that food made with love feeds the heart along with the stomach. What a beautiful saying. And where was your restaurant? Sadness returned to Martha's eyes. It was on Oak Street. It was called Taste of Home, but it closed about 6 months ago. Why? Richard asked. The economy got tough. People stopped coming. I tried to hold on as long as I could, but the debts kept piling up. Rent, suppliers. Her voice cracked. I lost everything, literally everything. Emily held Martha's hand. That's so sad. You must have been very upset. I still am. That restaurant was my dream, you know. I worked for years to open it, and in a few months, poof, it was all gone. Do you have any family who can help? Richard asked. I don't have anyone. My parents died when I was a teenager. I was raised by my grandmother, but she passed away 3 years ago. So I'm all alone. All alone. Emily looked shocked. But that's so sad. It is sad, sweetie. But today, Martha smiled at both of them. Today, I found 2 guardian angels. They finished eating. Richard insisted that Martha order dessert, which she eventually accepted. A piece of chocolate pie that she ate with her eyes closed. They left the restaurant together. At the door, Martha thanked them with tears in her eyes. Thank you so much for everything. You saved my day. Actually, you saved my whole week. It was a pleasure meeting you, Richard said. Martha bent down and kissed Emily's forehead. Thank you for everything, little angel. You reminded me that there are still good people in this world. Emily hugged her tightly. Martha waved and started walking down the sidewalk, disappearing into the darkness of the street. In the car, Emily was quiet for several minutes, looking out the window. Richard turned on the heater. It was cold out there, wasn't it? It was? She turned to him. Daddy, Martha is a very nice person. She seems to be, and she was very hungry. She was. Emily grew thoughtful. Daddy? Yes? You have a generous heart, she said, smiling. Richard was surprised. Me? Why? Because you let Martha eat with us, and you paid for her food, and you were kind. You're the one with the generous heart, Emily. You're the one who gave her your pasta. Emily shook her head. We have generous hearts together, like a real family. Richard's heart warmed. Sometimes Emily said things that surprised him. You're right, sweetie. They were silent for a few minutes, each lost in thought. Then Emily spoke again. Daddy? Yes, sweetie. Can we do more for her, Daddy? She lives on the street. The question hit Richard like a punch to the gut. He looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror, seeing her blue eyes full of concern. What do you mean, Emily? Martha doesn't have a home. She doesn't have a family. She doesn't have food every day. Emily's eyes filled with tears. And we have our big house and food all the time, and we're warm. It's not fair, Daddy. Richard swallowed hard. He didn't know what to say. His daughter's simple question stirred something deep inside him. The question echoed in his mind for the rest of the drive home, and it would continue to echo for a long time after. Richard woke up early on Saturday. He had slept poorly all night. Emily's question echoed in his mind without stopping. Can we do more for her, Daddy? He got up at 6 in the morning, took a hot shower, and went down to the kitchen. The house was completely silent. Emily was still fast asleep. He made coffee alone in the mansion's enormous kitchen, hearing only the sound of the old clock on the wall and the wind rustling the tall trees in the garden. He sat at the large table, which could easily seat 8 people, and drank his coffee in silence. The house was beautiful but too cold. He had always found it too big for 2 people. Maybe it was finally time to do something about that situation. He grabbed his car keys and left without waking Emily. 20 minutes later, he parked in front of the Bella Vista restaurant. The place was closed on Saturday mornings, but Richard knew Martha would probably be nearby. As she had said the night before, she usually stayed in the area during the day. He began to walk the streets around the restaurant. He checked the nearest park, then the side streets, the public benches. Nothing. He was starting to think he wouldn't find her when he decided to go to Oak Street, where her old restaurant used to be. That's exactly where he found her. Martha was sitting on a bench on the sidewalk, a few blocks from where Taste of Home used to be. She was reading an old book with pages yellowed by time, her blonde hair shining in the soft morning sun. She was wearing the same clothes as the night before, but they were clean and tidy. Richard approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Martha." She looked up from her book, completely surprised. "Richard, how did you find me here?" "You said yesterday that you stay in the area during the day. I decided to come look for you." Martha closed the book carefully and stood up, clearly nervous about his presence. "Did something serious happen? Is Emily okay?" "Emily is fine. In fact, it's because of her that I came to find you." "Because of her?" Richard pointed to the empty bench. "May I sit for a minute?" Martha hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They sat down with a respectful space between them. "Yesterday on the way home, Emily asked a question that I couldn't get out of my head all night." Martha waited in silence, holding the book tightly in her lap. "She asked if we could do more for you. She said it wasn't fair that you don't have a home, family, or food every day, while we have all of that to spare at home." "Children say things like that," Martha said with a sad smile. "They don't understand how the world really works yet." "Maybe they don't. Or maybe they understand it much better than adults do." Martha looked at him with growing, genuine curiosity. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Richard took several deep breaths. He had thought about this moment all morning, rehearsed the words in the car, but now that he was here, it all seemed more complicated than he had imagined. "You said yesterday that you know how to cook very well." "I do." "And that you had your own restaurant." "I did, that's right." "So you know how to work hard. You know how to fend for yourself, to take care of yourself." "Of course I do. I'm just in a very difficult situation right now, but I'm not lazy or a freeloader." Richard turned to look her directly in the eyes. "Would you like to work at my house as a housekeeper?" "With room and board included and a fair salary." Martha blinked several times in a row, as if she hadn't quite understood the words. "I'm sorry. What?" "I have a very large house. Too large for just 2 people, actually. It has several empty bedrooms, a huge kitchen we barely use, rooms that stay closed most of the time, and I work too much. I don't have time to take care of the house as I should." Martha continued to look at him without saying anything, the book clutched to her chest. "You would have your own large bedroom with a private bathroom, all meals included, a fixed salary every month. And Emily would love to have you around. She hasn't stopped talking about you since last night." Are you being completely serious right now?" "Completely serious." Martha ran a hand through her blonde hair, clearly trying to process the completely unexpected offer. "But Richard, you barely know me. You barely know who I really am." "I know enough to make this decision. I saw how you treated Emily yesterday. I saw the genuine gratitude in your eyes. I saw that you ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were precious. And Emily has an incredible instinct for recognizing truly good people." "Richard, I really don't know what to say right now." "Then just say yes." Martha laughed softly, but tears were forming in her light blue eyes. "Are you absolutely sure about all this? You won't regret it later. I'm completely sure." Martha was silent for a long moment, looking at the book in her hands, then at the street where her old restaurant was, then back at Richard. "Okay," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I accept your offer." Richard smiled for the first time since he had woken up that morning. "Perfect. Shall we go get your things then?" Martha laughed again, but this time with much less sadness. "I don't have any things to get. Everything I own in the entire world is in this bag right here next to me." She pointed to a small, old canvas bag resting on the bench. "Then let's go straight home." The Coleman mansion was in the most affluent and expensive neighborhood in the city, an imposing two-story house with extensive, well-manicured gardens, a 4-car garage, a large pool in the back, and a complete outdoor kitchen area. Martha looked out the car window the entire way, impressed by the size and elegance of the houses. "Oh, my goodness, Richard, your house really is huge. It's too big, I've always thought so. My wife wanted a house like this when we bought it, so we bought it. After she passed away, I never seriously thought about moving." "Was Emily born in this house?" "She was, but she and I basically just live on the ground floor. The upstairs bedrooms are hardly ever used for anything." They entered through the imposing and elegant front door. The entrance hall had a very high ceiling, a polished white marble staircase, and expensive paintings on the walls. All very beautiful and extremely elegant, but as cold as a museum. "Emily!" Richard called out. "Come downstairs. I have a special surprise for you." They heard footsteps running upstairs, then down the marble staircase. "Daddy, you left so early. I didn't see when you—" "Martha!" Emily appeared in the hall, still in her pink pajamas, her blonde hair a complete mess from sleep. When she saw Martha standing there, her blue eyes widened with pure joy. "Martha! What are you doing at our house?" "Your father offered me a job here," Martha said, opening her arms to welcome the little girl. "A job, here at our house, for real." "That's right," Richard confirmed, smiling at his daughter's radiant happiness. "Martha is going to work here with us and live here too," Emily shouted with joy and ran to hug Martha with all her might. "Really? You're going to live here with us?" "If you'll both have me," Martha said, returning the tight hug. "Of course we will. It's going to be the most amazing and wonderful thing in the whole world." Richard spent the whole morning showing Martha all the rooms in the house. The kitchen was indeed huge, with a large central island, a double oven, a gigantic refrigerator, and every modern and expensive appliance imaginable. The living room had expensive leather sofas and an ornate marble fireplace. The dining room could easily seat 12 people. "We usually order takeout or heat up frozen things from the supermarket," Richard explained, a little embarrassed by the situation. "I don't have time to cook, and Emily will eat anything I put in front of her." "I can cook real meals for you too, if you'd like," Martha offered enthusiastically. "I don't just have to clean and tidy the house. That would be absolutely fantastic. Emily would love real homemade food every day." They went up to the second floor of the mansion. Richard showed her 3 huge guest bedrooms, all with private bathrooms and beautiful, expensive furniture that looked like it had never been used. "Choose whichever one you prefer. They are all completely available." Martha chose the middle room, which had a very large window with a beautiful view of the well-kept backyard garden. The room was significantly larger than the entire apartment where she had lived before losing her restaurant. "It's absolutely perfect," she said, placing her small bag on the king-size bed. "Good, tomorrow we'll go out to buy clothes and everything else you need," Richard said. "You don't have to bother." "Yes, I do. It's part of our agreement." Emily spent the rest of the morning completely attached to Martha. She showed her all her favorite corners of the house, her toys scattered around her room, her large collection of books, her drawings carefully stored in a special folder. Martha listened to everything with genuine interest, asking curious questions and laughing at the girls' animated stories. At lunchtime, Martha insisted on cooking something special. "Let me see what you have in that big fridge of yours." She found fresh eggs, cheese, ham, ripe tomatoes, and a few other vegetables. In just half an hour, she prepared perfect omelettes, golden and creamy, served with a fresh, colorful salad. "Wow, Martha," said Richard, taking a careful first bite. "This is absolutely delicious. It's 1,000 times better than those tasteless frozen things we always eat," Emily declared enthusiastically. "I promise to cook real homemade meals for you every day," Martha said, smiling. In the afternoon, Emily ran to get her entire collection of colored pencils and a stack of white paper. "I'm going to make a very special drawing for you, Martha." They sat together at the large living room table. Emily put her all into the drawing: a large house with 3 smiling people in front, a tall man with dark hair, a blonde woman in a blue dress, and a little girl right in the middle of them. Below she wrote in still crooked but very careful letters, "My new happy family." Martha held the drawing with the utmost care. "It's beautiful, Emily. It's the most beautiful drawing I've ever seen in my whole life. I'll keep it forever." Really and truly, I'm going to put it on my bedroom wall today." Emily clapped her hands, completely radiant with happiness. At night, Martha completely outdid herself for dinner. She prepared roast chicken seasoned with fresh herbs, golden roasted potatoes, steamed colorful vegetables, and a simple homemade chocolate cake for dessert. The dining room table, which was rarely used, was set with a beautiful tablecloth, porcelain plates, and even lit candles. "Martha, you didn't have to go to so much trouble," said Richard, genuinely impressed. "It's not trouble when you do it with love and pleasure," she replied, smiling. During the delicious dinner, Emily made a special request. "Martha, tell me a cool story." "What kind of story would you like to hear?" "Any kind." "Do you know how to tell cool stories?" Martha smiled with motherly affection. "My grandmother used to tell me wonderful stories when I was little, like you." "I can tell you one she always used to tell." "Tell me, please." Martha began an enchanted story about a very brave princess who, instead of running from scary dragons, helped them solve their difficult problems and became great friends with them. Emily listened completely fascinated, asking curious questions and offering creative suggestions for the story. Richard also found himself paying attention, relaxed in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. When it was time for Emily to go to bed, Martha naturally offered to accompany her. "Can I brush my teeth in your bathroom, Martha?" "Of course you can, sweetie. Feel free to use it any time." Richard stayed in the living room and heard joyful laughter coming from upstairs. Real, spontaneous laughter, full of pure and genuine joy. It had been far too long since he had heard that wonderful sound filling the empty hallways of the house. When Martha came down, she found Richard in the living room, trying to read work reports. Did Emily fall asleep quickly? She fell asleep super fast. I think she was exhausted from all the excitement of the day. Richard put the papers aside, giving up on work completely. "Martha, thank you so much for all of this, for accepting the offer, for being so affectionate with Emily, for bringing new life into this house. Thank you, Richard, for giving me this incredible opportunity when I needed it most. I don't even know how I'll ever be able to repay so much generosity. You're already repaying it perfectly. Just look at how different the house is today. It's full of life." Martha looked around the room attentively. It was true. There were used plates on the dining table, the pleasant smell of homemade food still in the air, Emily's colorful drawings scattered on the sofa, cushions disarranged where they had been sitting. "Your house is really beautiful, Richard," she said sincerely, "but it was very, very quiet before. Too quiet. I work so much that sometimes I completely forget to live life." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. "Richard?" "Yes." "Can I ask about Emily's mother? You don't have to answer if you don't want to talk about it." She passed away when Emily was only 2, a very aggressive cancer. It was all very fast and difficult. I'm so sorry. Those were very difficult years for both of us. Emily barely remembers her, unfortunately. I tried to be both a father and a mother, but work consumes too much time. Martha stood up gently. I'll let you finish your work. Thank you again for everything, Richard. Martha went up to her new room. She placed Emily's drawing on the nightstand and lay down on the softest bed she had ever slept in. For the first time in 6 long months, she didn't have to worry about where she would sleep the next day. Downstairs, Richard put away the reports without finishing any of them. He went up to say goodnight to Emily and found her fast asleep, hugging her favorite teddy bear. There was a serene smile on her little face. He passed by Martha's room. The door was ajar and he saw a small light on. She was organizing her few belongings and hanging Emily's drawing on the wall, just as she had promised she would. Richard went to his own room smiling genuinely. The house was different. It had life again. It had human warmth. The Coleman mansion, once cold and silent, was finally breathing with life again. On Monday morning, Martha woke up at 6. She had slept better than she had in months, but the habit of waking up early remained. She went down to the kitchen and found Richard already dressed, drinking black coffee and looking at his phone. "Good morning," she said shyly. "Good morning, Martha. Did you sleep well?" "Very well, thank you." Richard finished his coffee quickly. "I have a meeting at 7:30. Emily wakes up at 7. She usually has milk with cereal. I'll leave some money on the table for you to order food for lunch." "I can cook," Martha offered, "if you have the ingredients." "The fridge is full." "Help yourself." He left in a hurry. Martha was left alone in the huge kitchen. She opened the refrigerator and sighed. It was full of expensive products, but nothing went together. Imported cheeses, wines, sophisticated pâtés, but nothing for a simple meal. At 7 o'clock sharp, Emily came downstairs in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Good morning, Martha." "Good morning, sweetie." "How about a special breakfast today?" Emily's face lit up. "What are you going to make?" Martha looked at the available ingredients. "How about pancakes? I have flour, eggs, milk." "I've never had real pancakes, only the frozen kind." Martha smiled. "Then today will be your first time." She mixed the batter while Emily watched, fascinated. The sweet smell of the first pancake on the griddle filled the kitchen. "Wow, that smells so good," Emily said, bouncing in her chair. Martha served 3 golden pancakes with honey. "All done?" Emily took the first bite and her eyes lit up. "Martha, this is so yummy." It tastes like happy food." "Happy food?" "Yes, it makes you happy on the inside when you eat it," Martha laughed. "Happy food. I like that name." For lunch, Martha prepared a simple grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup. Emily ate everything, once again declaring it was happy food. That evening, when Richard got home from work, he found the table set in the kitchen, not in the formal dining room, but at the small, cozier kitchen table. "What's this?" he asked, surprised by the smell. "Martha made a real dinner," said Emily, running to hug him. "And it's not sad food like always." "Sad food? That frozen stuff. Martha makes happy food." Richard sat at the table. Martha served a simple dish, grilled chicken with herb-seasoned rice and a fresh salad. "Martha, you didn't have to." "It was my pleasure." Richard took the first bite. The flavor surprised him. It was simple, but perfect. The chicken was tender, the rice flavorful without being overpowering, the salad fresh and crisp. "This is very good," he said sincerely. "Really? Really? I haven't eaten something like this in a long time." Emily clapped her hands. "I told you. Happy food." On Tuesday, Martha woke up even earlier. She went to the market with the list Richard had left, but she bought different ingredients. Instead of gourmet products, she bought simple things: ripe tomatoes, onions, garlic, fresh herbs. She made a full breakfast, creamy scrambled eggs, golden toast, and cut fruit. Emily ate everything, talking about the drawings she would make for Martha during the day. For lunch, she prepared a colorful omelette with vegetables. Emily helped break the eggs. "Can I stir it?" "Of course, you can." Emily stirred the batter with excessive care, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "I'm making happy food too." "Yes, you are, sweetie." In the evening, Martha went the extra mile. She made a simple beef stew with potatoes and carrots. The smell filled the entire house. Richard arrived and stopped at the kitchen door. "What's that smell?" "Stew," said Martha, stirring the pot. "It smells like Grandma's house." Emily laughed. "Martha cooks like a grandma, food that hugs your tummy." During dinner, Richard ate more slowly than usual. "My Martha, where did you learn to cook like this?" "From my grandmother, like I said. She used to say that good food doesn't have to be complicated, it just needs to be made with care." She was right. "Did you really like it? I know you're used to expensive restaurants." "That's exactly why. Sometimes you forget that simple food can be the best." Emily nodded vigorously. Happy food is better than fancy food. The rest of the week followed the same pattern. Every morning, Martha woke up early and prepared a homemade breakfast. Emily always helped, declaring they were making happiness in the pan. On Wednesday, she made freshly baked cheese biscuits. Emily stood at the oven door waiting for them to rise. "They're getting chubby," she said, laughing. "Just like you'll get if you eat too many," Martha joked. "I don't care. I want to get chubby from happy food." On Thursday, she prepared a simple chocolate cake for dessert. Emily helped lick the bowl. "Martha, yes? Why is your food different?" "Different how?" "It makes us want to stay together. The food before made us eat quickly and go do other things." Martha stopped stirring the batter. "Maybe because I make it thinking of you two." "What do you mean?" "When I cook, I think about how much you'll enjoy it. If it will make you happy." Emily hugged Martha's waist. "That's why it's happy food, because it has love inside." On Friday, Richard came home from work early. He found Martha and Emily in the kitchen, making cookies. Emily had flour on her nose and was smiling radiantly. "Daddy, look what we made." Richard watched the scene. The kitchen was an organized mess. Dirty bowls in the sink, flour on the counter, but the smell was incredible. And Emily was happier than he had seen her in a long time. "Did you two have fun?" "A lot," said Emily. "Martha taught me how to make heart shapes." Richard looked at Martha, who was wiping her hands on her apron. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For making Emily smile like that." "For making the house smell like a home." Martha smiled, blushing. "It's just food." "It's not just food, it's—" He paused, searching for the right words. "It's care." During dinner that night, Richard ate even more slowly. The dish was simple, grilled fish with mashed potatoes and steamed green beans, but every bite tasted of home, of family. "Oh, Martha." "Yes." "Can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "In your restaurant, did you cook like this too?" Martha thought for a moment. "I did, but it was different." "How so?" "There, I cooked for customers. Here, I cook for you." "It makes all the difference in the world." Emily, who was more interested in making mountains with her mashed potatoes, looked up. "What's the difference?" "When I cook for you, I put a little piece of my heart in every dish." Richard felt something stir in his chest. How long had it been since someone cooked for him like that? How long had it been since he'd eaten something made with so much care? "The food is yummy because you like us," Emily asked. "I'm liking you more and more every day," Martha said sincerely. Emily smiled, satisfied. "So it's going to get yummier and yummier." "Because we like you more and more too." Richard watched the two of them and realized something had changed in his house. It wasn't just the food, it was the feeling of belonging, of mutual care, of a family forming naturally around the table. For the first time in years, dinner wasn't just a necessity. It was a moment of connection, warmed by the love Martha put into every meal. happy food, as Emily